Before we start the prayers, Angela's going to lead us in that. We have one. Angela has an announcement. Angela, do you have?
Yeah. So I'd like to also send prayers out to those who are suffering a great deal, mostly in Asheville, of course, but all along the hurricane's path. We, of course, have a lot of Bible lovers in the Asheville area. I've been keeping a list of people that have checked in. So far, they're all physically safe. I've got over 100 names on that list, which is really gratifying to see. So far, I don't know of any especially Bible lover efforts to help, but Chaipani has been on the ground feeding people, and they're going to have a GoFundMe link soon, so I'll send that out by email when I get it. But that's the only purely Bible lover, so to speak, or Bible lover-led endeavor that I know of at the moment. But other than that, if you want to participate with donating goods, food, water, medical supplies, that sort of thing, you can come up to me after and I can give you some links for places that you can drop off or places you can even buy off Amazon and have it delivered. So, Jai Baba. Yeah, I've been following very closely. So anyway, let's say the prayers, send good vibes out there.
If you'll all rise, please.
All rise.
And then once the prayers are over, Astrid will lead us in the Australian art.
Oh,
Almighty God, the preserver and protector of all, you are without beginning and without end, non-equal, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. You are indivisible, and none can see you but with eyes divine. You always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere. You are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest, on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the three worlds and also beyond the three worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the Creator, the Lord of Lords, the knower of our minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. You are knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all-knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future, and you are knowledge itself. You are all merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the Trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the ancient one, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parameshwar. You are the beyond God and beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Elahi, Yezdan, Ahura Mazda, and God beloved. You are named Isa, the only one worthy of worship. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false, or unjust, or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent most especially for every lustful thought and every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most especially also, we repent for every action that has brought ruin to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us, and to forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you. And help us all to hold fast the Father's Dhamma till the very end. Avatar Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Baba Ki Jai.
O glorious, eternal, ancient one, your face is a bright, transcendental sun. Lighten this darkness and the fears I weep. My heart mere I give to you to keep. Creator, yet creationless you are, truth and truth's body, divine avatar, who through compassion the three worlds maintains. Destroy this ignorance that life sustains. These five lights are the whirling strokes of breath of the world wheel that bears me unto death. Unless you who are infinitely kind break the wheels up which is conditioned mind. This incense is my love, these fruits my art, which to please you I have shaped from my heart. Accept them as you would a simple flower that has no use beyond its shining hour. You are myself, I sing to you in praise, and beg your love to bear me through the days, till you, the ever-living perfect one, illumine my darkness with your shining sun. Avatar Mer Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Mer Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Mer Baba Ki Jai.
The rest of the program is Kathy's going to do a reading, and then Jamie's going to do a tune, and then Bobby Bernstein's going to rock us. And then, of course, Mr. Luck will lead us in his delightful tales of his love for Mayor Baba.
I guess I'll sit on this chair that everybody's been.
Hello.
Everyone is unconsciously tired of this life because everyone seeks happiness, but knows not how to get it. But life is so beautiful. It is meant to be happy. I will help you. Then things will appear changed. You will see it. It is always the outlook that counts and not the object. Today you feel tired, upset, seeing nothing beautiful in the things around you in life. If tomorrow you do not feel bored but cheerful in the same things that appeared so black to you yesterday, it is all due to changed mentality and outlook. The easy way is not to make so much of things. Take them lightly. Say to yourself, I am meant to be happy, to make others happy. And gradually you do become happy yourself and make others happy too. Don't suggest to your mind, quote, I am tired, haggard, depressed, etc. That will make it worse. Always say, quote, all is well and beautiful. I will be happy. Found in Lord Mayor Bao Kalchuri online, page 1631.
Oh, Mayor, like a silent prayer, I hear your name ringing everywhere, the most beautiful word I have ever heard is Mayor, Mayor. My heart keeps on beating only for you. It keeps on repeating your name in the night. I reach out to you, oh Mayor, Mayor, like a silent prayer. I hear your name ringing everywhere, the most beautiful word I have ever heard is Mayor, Mayor. I remember the hour I first heard your name, like a fragrant flower, it went to my head. I've not been the same, oh Mayor, Mayor, like a silent prayer. I hear your name ringing everywhere, the most beautiful word I have ever heard is Mayor, Mayor. It's the sound of love, giving and receiving love. It's the sound of love, it keeps my heart believing in love. And all my fears begin to fade away, till all that's left is the sound of your name. Oh Mayor, Mayor, like a silent prayer, I hear your name ringing everywhere, the most beautiful word I have ever heard is Mayor, Mayor.
Jai Baba. When I was thinking about what song I would like to play tonight, along with Irwin's talk, I wanted it to be something that would reflect him, his love for Baba, and the natural friendship that he displayed, walking along with Baba in the streets of Ahmednagar, and all the love of his poetry that he sends out and everything. So don't want to embarrass you, Irwin. But anyway, so the song that I came up with is a song that from Rodgers and Hammerstein's The King and I, that Mira and the women went to see. And I think it describes a type of friendship that Irwin has described with Baba. And it's called Getting to Know You. Oh. So I'm not going to rock it tonight, but I'm going to maybe jazz it tonight a little, or swing it, or whatever. Anyway, please sing with me if you know this song. Really? Oh, so Baba heard it. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Get precisely my cup of tea. Don't you know you can feel free and easy when I'm with you? Can't you know what to say? Haven't you noticed? Suddenly I'm bright and breezy because of the beautiful and new things I'm learning about you day by You are precisely my cup of tea. Don't you know you can feel free and easy when I'm with you? Can't you know what to say? Haven't you noticed? Suddenly I'm bright and breezy because of all the beautiful and new things I'm learning about you day by day. Jay Baba. I love it when you said Baba was nice and he was kind. I just love it. Jay Baba.
Before we get Irwin up here, after Irwin closes, we are going to have Bobby and Jamie close the meeting out. So please stay for them. Is Mr. Luck in the room?
I like that music, that song that she sang, because Baba was the most friendly of all people. You never had a better friend. Someone that runs the universe, good make friends with them. It's you'll be doing okay that way. Well, anyhow, I came to Baba because I wanted to see God. I wanted him to show me God. I hear all these things about God, they preach about it, they talk about it, they write books about it, they do movies about it, so much God. But I don't see nothing. You see, so this was not going over well with me. I wanted to be able to see. So when I found out about Baba, then I was reading this book, Listen Humanity, and Baba would say in there that even if the worst scoundrel were to stand before me, I could make him realize God in less time than the flash of a second. See, it doesn't even take long. It's very quick, a flash of a second. Well, it really did happen when Babajan wiped away the limitations that was in Meerwan. When he came to be there as a schoolboy, he was just riding by, and then all of a sudden this lady that they did think she may be a saint, they didn't know if she was mad or she was a saint. There was not sure in the city where she was, but then it turned out that she was neither. She was beyond all that. She was the perfected master, the one that has the state of God, the God state that she experiences. So when she called him over, and then she so lovingly embraced him and kissed him and just wiped away all the barriers that stood between him and his realization of his true self as God. Wow, not bad, I could see myself in that, like that, Where is my Baba John, where she's going to do that for me too? But nevertheless, I didn't think about it all that way at that time. Instead, I was reading that Mayor Baba was saying that he could enlighten anyone in just a moment. There was nothing difficult for him. For us, it's impossible because you have to go beyond your mind. We operate through the mind. Anybody that's in the mind cannot just step out of it. It doesn't work that way. So it requires somebody that is beyond mind and is awake in the real sense. Now we have to understand one of the things that Baba did tell us. He said he didn't come to teach. He wasn't going to teach it. He was going to awaken you to experience this yourself. The God state of consciousness is within everybody. This is not someone else. God is not someone else. It's a state of consciousness that is within each person. But we have to experience it, otherwise you don't, and you experience your limitations, all your needs and desires, and you're in the gross body, which is very perishable, and you're just not having any kind of experience, even to begin with, about what he's talking about when he speaks about the God state of consciousness. Nevertheless, it is still in us to experience, and that becomes the goal of our life. We have to gain the experience of it and not just hear about it. Well, anyhow, I wanted to experience it. Why not? Sounds good, you know? Infinite bliss, infinite knowledge of all things, to which nothing can be added or subtracted, that kind of knowledge. The knowledge of being everywhere in everything, where you don't see others as others, but you see it as that behind the bodies and minds of all beings, there's only one self. We call it God. We give it a name. These are labels: oversoul, highest consciousness. You know, this is all terminology due to our use of language. But the experience of it is what we're after, not to just hear about it. You see, hearing about it does not let you experience. You may as well tell a blind man what it's like to see red. How are you going to explain this? You can say, well, it's a vibration. There's a blue vibration of blue. You know, you can give the scientific type of explanations, but he doesn't see a damn thing. He doesn't see nothing. But if he opened his eyes, or he was given the sight, then in 1 second, he sees the whole thing, and you don't have to say nothing. And that's what happens with God realization. This is what I've heard. I don't know anything either, you see. I like what Bao said. Before he'd give a talk, which could last for hours, he would start off by saying, first I want you to know that I don't know anything. Now you can ask me whatever you like. He would actually say this before he started. Sometimes he would say that. So I have to say the same thing. Whatever I know is what I've heard from Baba, and that's what I share with everybody. In addition to that, like Bao, he also was able to tell his own experiences that he had with Mayor Baba. So I can talk about that as well, what actually did happen at that time. But just the same, when Baba asked me what I wanted, I said, I want to be like you. That was it. You know, I wanted God. I wanted to see and experience God. Not to talk about it, but to experience it. And Baba listened, and he was, you know, just listened to me, what I said. And then he told me, stay close. Stay close. So wherever he went during the 2 weeks that I was there, he would keep me close to him wherever he was. If he was in the car riding, we were riding together. I would be next to him. If we were going and visiting someone's home, then I would be with him with that. Wherever he went and wherever he was, he would take me there. So I had to be close. And it was not like he was giving me any supernatural experience in this. There was nothing like that, but just to be physically close. And Baba was with everybody. He was very friendly. He really liked people. And being a people that I am, he liked me too. It was very nice, you know. And he had a family of so many of his lovers. You see, being with Baba was like family. He treated everyone as like your family, like you would somebody that you respect and you're very dear, feel close to. It was all about love, the way he made you feel, that you were close to him, that you could say whatever you need, whatever you wanted. He wanted you to be natural, not to be thinking of yourself as pious or holy because you're with the avatar or anything. There was nothing like that. It was just to be with him, and just like you would be with anyone that was dear to you or close to you. That was the way it was with Baba. That's why that song that you sang about him being the friend, very good song. Who made that song?
Rogers and Hammerstein.
Rogers and Hammerstein. Yeah. Well, maybe they knew something. Anyhow, I have something here that I was going to read. This is from one of my books of poems. And I never liked poetry before I started writing it. But I did like, there was one book I did like, and that was Francis Brabazon's book, Stay With God. When I read that book, it was for the first time I really appreciated poetry because, and the reason was, it was story poetry. It was a story that was basically true, and he would write it in a poetic fashion. And this was had a lot of deep meaning too in the poetry he wrote, and I really liked that. That was the first time that I really read something that I liked. And ever since then I've been, well, that was much before I started writing anything. But later on, when I started to write, I was really writing to Baba. I wasn't writing like this here for books, you know, circular books. I was writing poems to Baba because for 10 years, see, I wasn't always with him. I wasn't always visiting there. I visited Baba a few times, 3 times, and that was where we actually were there with him. But all the rest of the time, I was back in the States. He wanted me to be in the States, not to be living with him. He wanted me in the States, so I had to go back. And there was all this continuous communication through letters and telegrams, and he was guiding every detail of everything that there was. And I was very happy. I just wanted to do whatever he said. So Baba liked that, you know. The most important thing to Baba was to do what he said and then to love him. You see, if you could love him after doing what he says, then that made him happy. That made him very happy. But, and that's what it was. With me and my brother Edward, we were like that. So now I'm going to read you something which is, which really happened too. This is a true story from my book. Here it is. Just a minute. You know, this is so that I can see what I'm looking at. It's always good to be able to see what you look at. All right. Now, this is titled The Eye of the Avatar. Is there an eye in the mind? There are many pictures in mine. They are like movies, people and animals interacting with me. I'm filled with emotions, feelings of loss and pride, and you name it, I feel it. God and sin are all there. What a mind I have. How did I get it when I was born? Then I grew up. As luck would have it, I found out about you. I could have found out about the local mafia boss and wanted to emulate him, or the basketball champ, or a scientific genius, or an astronaut and be like them. But somehow you were the one. Lucky me that it was you. I do believe in destiny. It was my time in this endless eternity of time. I did not know why or how my time had come, but it happened, and it happened that one day I was walking with you. You said, stay close. 100 people were also walking behind you. Someone came between us. You stopped. Everyone stopped. You pulled me next to you. We kept walking. Time and again, someone would come between us. You would stop. All the many people would stop. Again and again, you would pull me next to you. Then one day you said to me, I caught you in the nick of time. You did not explain, but I was glad someone else did not catch me. You asked me, do you believe I am the Avatar? I knew what that was. Who would believe such a thing? Was I with the Lord in human form, the master of love and mercy in the universe, the one who receives and answers every heartfelt prayer? Was he the only one worthy of my worship? Then he said something I will never forget. He said it twice, using the silence of his hand signs. Remember, I am God in human form. Remember, I am God in human form. That really happened. All of that happened. When, it's very informal. If anyone does have any question or they want to say something, don't hesitate, please. Very informal place here. And if you, you can ask this gentleman, he'll tell you the same thing. David.
I'll start it off by saying, when was the first time that you heard his name in your life?
My brother Edward called me from New York. He had read this book, Listen, Humanity. He was not looking for that book. He was looking for a book to further his acting career. But since he saw that book on the shelf, this is what he told me, and it said, Listen, Humanity, he says, what kind of a name and title is this? Somebody wants a whole humanity to listen to. So he took the book off to see what he's talking about. And that's how he came to hear about Mayor Bob himself. This is when he was reading it. He was so impressed that he took the book home. And then he called me up and he told me that he read this book about a master who lives in India who says he's God. And that and he thought that I should know about this here, that it would be good if I knew about this. Well, at the time, I was also having a lot of inner guidance and inner direction. That's a whole nother story. But that was happening. So I didn't really think I needed anyone else. No master, I was unfamiliar with the terminology even of master or anything about God in that respect, that he would be as a human being also. I listened to him, and I thought, well, good, he found something. Now, I didn't relate it to myself, but that's how I first heard. Then, in my own inner directions that were given to me at that time. It said at one point that I should go to New York because something would happen where I'd gain a communication with God. And I always followed these inner promptings. It was very strong and it was very clear. And I felt that I was being inwardly guided in those days. So I followed it and I went to New York and did read that book. There was a whole series of things that happened. It's a great story. In case you ever want to read it, you can get my book and then read it, you see. It's called Irwin and the Avatar, My True Story. Having told you now about my book that you can get, that's what happened, though. And that's how I heard about Meher Baba. But you see, when I read it, and I was reading the part that he spoke about that being the highest of the high, I was very impressed by his tremendous love that he had, bowing down to the poorest of the poor and washing their feet and doing all those things that he did, you know. And here he is, a God realized person, God himself, he would say, and coming down and doing things at that level, and never looking for himself. I felt, you know, this is remarkable. No one lives a life like this. I have never heard anybody living like that. And I said, if you can determine whether a person is real or not by you determine it by the life they live and the people that they're with. So everything fell together in that regard. And I just decided that now my next step would be to meet him and to see him, because now it was no more just reading about it. I wanted to actually see him, and I wanted him to show me God, you see, because I felt that if he says he's God and he's felt then that and he can give liberation and enlightenment to anybody, why not? You know, this is. I wanted enlightenment. He wants to give it. We should be, you know, we should get together. We're meant for each other. So, and when I did see him, I'll just sort of jump over to that part. He did tell me that there would come a time, someplace, somewhere, somehow, that he said, I will give you what you want. And then later he said that he would give me, this was my brother Edwin and I, we were leaving that day, and before we left he said, one day I'll give you the highest experience. So I thought later, you know, what is the highest experience? His experience. There's no other higher experience that I could think of. The avatar is one with the universal self of God. So he's the highest experience, where you see yourself, instead of seeing yourself as separate from everyone, you see yourself as everyone. How about that? You try that one out. Try out. Just imagine it even. You can hardly imagine it. To see yourself as everything, and not only everyone on this speck of a planet, but throughout the universe. He's universal. Now, what made it easy for me to understand this was when he also, in this age, explained certain things that was never explained before. And one of the things was that there's only one self that exists. The one self that exists, we give a name to, a label to, we call it God, the oversoul. You can call it by whatever language that you speak. But the thing is to think of it that there is only one self in existence behind the bodies and minds of all beings. And you have to experience yourself as that self for what you really are. See, that's the real self. Not this imaginary self that we think we hear, and this is us. You look in the mirror and you see that's me. No, that's not you. What Baba is saying is that you got to see You see, you got to see as it really is, the reality. All the rest is just a dream. So that's how I understood it. And then he also explained it. He said, you're living in a dream that you think is real because your consciousness is so sharp and so acute that you see every detail of this illusion, of this dream. And because of that, you think this is your life. But that's not what it is. That's imagination. The mind creates that. And you see that. And that's what you think is real. But it's not the reality. And then he would say, if you saw yourself as you really are, you would see yourself as infinite, unlimited, no bindings, you would have all the knowledge, all the power, all the bliss of everything, all the infinite love. You would be one with everything. But you don't see that, so that's the goal. That's what you have to come to, and that's why he comes into the world, in order to help us experience that. Oh, thank you. You see, this has never been explained to me before. In all the advents that I read about of Buddha or Jesus or Muhammad, the Lord Krishna, in none of those advents did he explain it so simply, that there's one self behind all the bodies and minds of everyone, and that's your goal, and that's what you got to experience. How much simpler can you make it? You know, that it's all an illusion, a dream that you're involved with, absorbed by, and then you take that as the reality because that's all you experience. That's all I experience. How can it not be my reality? That's all I experience. But from his point of view, you see, now from his point of view, he can tell you that there's more to this than what you are looking at. You have to see your real self, then you'll know the difference. Then you see what I said is true. That's what Baba explained. So I said, you know, I like him. He seems to know what he's talking about. I've never heard this before, to be put so plainly. And I think I like this man. I'm going to stick with him. Stick with somebody that seems to know something, finally. And then there's, it works out very nicely that way. You can have love for everything and everyone. You can see the beauty and the charm of all things because you're making it. If it's an imagination, there's no end to what you can imagine. You can imagine the worst or the best. It's not real, but the self that's the dreamer is real, not the dream, you see, that's the thing. And when a person becomes God-realized, then they see what is real, and they can enlighten others that are still bound. You see, that's what they do. And they're very loving people. When you become all-powerful and all-knowing, what do you do? What kind of life do you live? If you want to re-enter the imagination that others are living in, then there's only one thing to do, and that's to enlighten them from it, to bring them to where they can see the real thing. And it don't matter how good or bad you've been. There's no guilt in this, even if you did the worst things, because it's all imagination, it's all illusion. He has to take you from what is imaginary to what is real. And he has to wash out all that imagination. Just wash it out. The cleaning man comes, and he has to clean you up so you can see the real thing. All right. And that's the way I understand it. Anybody else understand it differently, or anybody can show me better, then I'd like to see it.
Tell the story about when you came to Baba and he asked you how you came.
How I came?
How you came, or he asked you.
Oh, well, of course there's a story to everything. Because I'm so filled with stories. Well, Judy is asking me about this and what Baba said when I first came to him. Baba had asked me how I had come. So the thing is this, I was not able to go for a long time, for about 6 months before I actually did see him. And during that period of time, I thought that was after I read that book, as I mentioned, I thought that I would work my way across on a ship. I had no money to go anywhere. I couldn't get a ticket for a plane or anything. So I thought, I'll work my way across. But that didn't pan out. Nobody wanted me. No ship would take me. So it didn't work out. So the time was going by, and I had wanted very badly. I really was quite desperate to want to go and see Mayor Baba. And I felt I better go see him before something happens where he's not even here anymore. See, like everybody here, so many Baba lovers now, wish they could have seen him during his life. But the thing was, I had that opportunity, and now I wasn't able to go. So it turns out that all this time is slipping by. 6 months go by, and I get a letter from Mani. It was a circular she sent out to all the people in the West, his Western lovers, that Baba would soon be entering seclusion, during which time he would not be seeing anyone, and that he would be entering seclusion. When he would go into seclusion, he'd go in for 6 months, and you couldn't see him then, because he was not going to be taking any, seeing any visitors or receiving any correspondence. Except in emergency, you could send a telegram. He did allow that. But anyhow, that was what was coming up. So when I read this, boy, I got so desperate. I said, this is terrible. Another 6 months. I couldn't even imagine having to wait again 6 more months. That was due to happen once he entered into the seclusion. So that was coming up. So now, in my desperation, I decided there's only one thing left to do. If I'm ever going to get there, because I had no money, I had no way of getting there, and I said, now, in my desperation, I'm going to write to Baba and tell him exactly what's going on, that I want to go and see him. So I wrote this letter, Dear Baba, I want very much to have the benefit of your love, your direction, and your guidance, but I don't have the money to make the trip to go and see you, and I can't see where money should stand in the way of such an ideal. Providing it is your wish, you would make it, that you would be able, through your will, make it possible for me to come. And I sent that. Now it was out of my hands, where it should have been in the first place. But okay, now I came to that conclusion. I get a letter back almost immediately. It came back so quick I said, I didn't know the mail could be so fast. But the letter said only one sentence.
Circumstance.
Don't worry. Circumstances will adjust themselves. Love, Mayor Baba. That was it. That was all that it said. Don't worry. Circumstances will adjust themselves. As soon as I got that, I said, oh boy, this is great. I wonder what's going to happen. 2 weeks later, I'm there. Just to skip over a whole bunch of stuff. It's 2 weeks later, I'm there. So Baba asked me how I came. And now I said, I was able to come because it was your will. And then he motioned for me to stand up, and to repeat it to the group that was present in the room at the time with him. There must have been about 15 or so people in the room. And I did. I stood up and I said, I am here because it is Baba's will. And then this man in the back, he raised his hand. But how did you earn the money to come? Because he was apparently around when these letters would come. And I immediately thought, he doesn't understand. It could have been any which way of 100,000 million ways that it could work out. But it was due to his will that he worked, he worked it out. That was it. What didn't work before now worked. So no became yes. By the way, I advise that highly. When no becomes yes, you're going to like it. And so anyhow, and then Baba, when I was thinking that he didn't understand, that it could have been any which way, then Baba just gestured and he just put his hand across and he said, that is not important, what the man said. The way he said is how he came. See, that's what Baba said then. So that confirmed it. I knew somebody's going to ask that question. What is
How
it?
old were you when this was happening?
23. I was just 23 at the time when I first met Baba the first time. And I was there Baba had originally said in the letter that I could come to see him for 1 hour only. But then, when I was there, so you see, when I got that, I thought 1 hour, you would think you go 1 hour, 1 hour in between 10,000 miles, and then back 10,000 miles. He's on the other half of the world, you see. So no visiting, no seeing anything, nothing. Now, it is true also, I was not interested in all of those things. But I just thought, well, what he can do in a moment, who cares, I'll leave the time to him, leave it up to him. But as it turned out, when I was there, after a few hours, Baba asked, like this, what time is it? And so the time was said, and Baba said, it's already 2 or 3 hours. How long were you to be here? So I said, Baba, you said I could stay an hour. I could come for 1 hour. So he said, how is this possible? He points to somebody, tell me, how is this possible? I don't know, Baba. How you? Each one he was pointing to, how it's possible. So when the humor of it sort of receded, then Baba said, I want you to come every morning at 7:30. Merji will pick you up from your hotel, and you will remain with me until lunch, and then he'll take you back for your lunch and then bring you back again until I dismiss everyone. And then he's to take you each day to see another part of something else in Pune. And the first day, Baba wanted me to go to the tomb of Hazrat Babajan, which is in Pune. So I was taken there the first day. But the thing is, now, there was no end. I was not given a time that I would have to leave. And that was fine with me. I wanted to stay there and just live with Baba, if I could. But then after 2 weeks, then Baba had to go, and he was now heading back from Pune to go back to Marazad, where he would also be living. And he called me over. And that morning he said, first he embraced me and he hugged me, and then he said, distance means nothing to me. Time and space are no barriers for me. I'll be with you wherever you are. So with that, I was to leave. Now, when he embraced me, and I must tell you about that part, when he embraced me, there was such a charge. I never had anything like this happen. It was like a real energy charge that it made me so restless that, you know, if you ever look in the movies of Baba, you see his fingers moving like that. You know, I was doing that. I was moving my finger, but to me it meant nothing. You know, there was no meaning to it. With Baba, it had a lot of meaning what he was doing. But for me, it was only because I was so energized that I couldn't sit still. I couldn't be still. And that lasted until the next day. The next day in the morning after I woke up, then that was gone. I didn't have that energy like that. But when I stepped back from him, oh boy, something he put in me in that way, energized like that. And that did happen like that, you know. So, and he told me to go back and to tell others what I had experienced when I was with him. So I did that. The first place that I did it was with the New York group, because when they had their meeting, they wanted to hear what happened, and I told them everything as much as I could. And I've been talking about it ever since, you know. Baba has made me share everything that happened like that.
How did you return?
Huh?
How did you return to see him again?
The following year, I went back again, this time with my brother Edward. And we both went to see Baba. He was allowing people to come at that time because you see, Baba had entered into seclusion. And he then stepped out of his seclusion a year later so that people could come to see him. And we were amongst those that did. That went. And that time, I really did see him for, it was 1 hour, which he kept us for 2 hours that time. That trip, all the way there and back, I was there for 2 hours altogether. And then again, we went the following year after that again, which was the 1962 East-West Gathering, where he wanted everyone from the east and the west of his lovers to come to be and to be with him. Baba had been wanting to bring the east and the west together at a gathering like that for many years, but the time, he said, was not right until then. In 1962, then he had it. And what happened? Oh, brother, what a thing that was. The world was on the crisis of being wiped out. There was the East-West Gathering was at the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, if you're familiar with that. And Russia was bringing missiles into Cuba, and the U.S., that time under Kennedy, sent out the fleet to blockade Cuba so that no missiles could come into Cuba. And you see, according to international law, if any ship from any other nation is stopped on the high seas, on international waters, it is considered an act of war. You don't do that. Well, he didn't want to have no missiles coming in that could be shot into the U.S., so he did that. Anyhow, it was a big crisis, you know, what was going to happen now with the Russians, with their ships coming in, and the U.S. now blockading it. And at that point is when we all left to go to see Baba at the East-West Gathering. How about that? He loves drama, let's face it. He's the most dramatic avatar. He says, I'll put a show on for you that you wouldn't believe it happen. So then, when we were now there, you see, that wasn't the end of it. China had just invaded India at the same time. There was an invasion in India when our flight arrived. All these troops and tanks and everything were going up. India was sending it to the border to try to stop the Chinese, but the Chinese were very powerful and very strong, and they were going through the northern part of India like a knife through butter. I mean, it was very difficult to stop them. So all of this is happening at the same time, and we're going to the East-West gathering. How about that? Baba's bringing the East and the West together. We didn't know if there would be a planet to land on by the time we took off for that to come here. Now there was a reporter that wanted to ask Baba some questions. Baba was seated on the dais, 5,000 people seated there in front of Baba at the gathering. And this reporter comes up and he wants to ask Baba some questions. So Baba agreed, yeah, come. And this reporter asked if India will be victorious because the Chinese had just invaded. And Baba said, because the avatar is in India, India will be victorious. But remember, I'm also in the Chinese. He told them. So when they reported it in the paper, Baba says that India will be victorious. They left out the part about the Chinese. But he also asked, after that he asked, and what will happen with the invasion, not invasion, but the Cuban Missile Crisis, the crisis that's going on now between U.S. and Russia and Cuba, and the ships that are coming through. What will there be? Because it looked like there could be a world war. You see, this was no small thing at that time. You're talking world war between two nuclear powers. Well, Baba said, he said, I will avert that. The time is not right for such a war, and I will just avert it. So that was what he said. Then the next day or two, we get the news that the Russians were removing their missiles, taking them back with their ships, and the U.S. is taking the blockader back with their ships, and the whole thing was over, just like that. It was who knew why and what, but that's what happened. Everybody went home, so the whole thing was averted. Well, you see, that's why lately, when there's all this commotion about Biden and not Biden, but Kamala Harris, and things that are going on in the U.S. It's just this one country, and Trump, and people would sometimes ask me what I think about that. I said, look, I'm going to tell you what Baba said, and I'll say it in one sentence, and that'll solve the whole thing for you. Remember who is running the show. Baba told us, and he said this before, these world leaders are like puppets on the strings of the masters. The masters are in control of the minds of all beings. Everybody's mind is within the universal mind, and they're in charge of and they have access to the universal mind. That's what they do. So their interest has nothing to do with politics. Their interest is to enlighten and give God realization to the humanity to bring everybody up to that level. That's what it's all about. It has nothing to do with the politics or whether you like this one or that one or the other one. That is all immaterial to the masters. They run the show, and they use these leaders, they make these leaders, for an absorption for the people that have to have something to think about how their lives are going to be. And nobody's life is very long anyhow. You're living in a perishable body, for God's sakes. It's time to understand that you go from one to the other, to the other, to the other, in physical, in bodies, because you are eternal. There's nothing perishable about you. The bodies are perishable, but you who inhabit the body are not perishable. You don't die. Bodies die, you don't. That's the difference, and they see it that way. So they're not concerned how many people are going to die or anything, because nobody dies. You see, that's the point. From our point of view, because we don't see that, we only see ourselves as the physical presence, so naturally we're very concerned about it. You get the primal feeling of self-preservation, which is basically the body. But the thing is, Bob is telling us, he said, now, you inhabit a body in order to learn what your life is designed to teach you. And what you don't learn in one life, you have to have another, then you go on to another one, because your body will not last beyond a certain time. See? And so you go on like that. It's a great system. It's been going on like that forever. And you just hearing about it maybe for the first time, so it sounds new. But this is an old system, and his system is a good one. It really works good, you know, and eventually everyone gets to the point of their realizing their eternal self that has been inhabiting bodies. And you can go from the gross body, and then after a time, when you wear out all your impressions and you have no more desires for the gross world, then you enter into, then you start to access your subtle body of energy, and you're going through the subtle worlds and the mental worlds, and there is all of that until finally you've been around the block. You've been knocking around the universe long enough, and enough is enough. You're tired of the whole thing. Now you want to see the real thing. But if you get under the avatar, before you have to knock around the entire cosmos for God knows how long before you get to the point of saying, what's real around here? You know, then you come to the point of, if you get under the avatar, he'll cut short all of that. And he'll explain it, explain it so you can understand it. And then there's the opportunity to realize your true nature, your unlimited nature. It's all about you. It's all about us, I mean, there's only one you. But you got to, because right now we see a multiplicity of yous. You see, you're separate from everyone and everything. But in that state that he's talking about, you see yourself as the one behind all the minds and bodies of all beings. It sounds good, I'd like to try that. I gotta try that one out. And so I think Baba will show me something. All right, anybody have a question before? Go
Simple
ahead.
question. What year was it when you went the first time?
1960.
Okay. 62 was the East-West.
The 62 was the East-West. The first time I met Mayor Baba, went to see him, was in India. And you see, in those days, there was nobody as young as me anyhow. I was 23, but no young people were going to see him. Baba would come to the West, lots of people would come, or to Europe, or wherever he was traveling. When he traveled, then a lot of people came where he was, because he would go to them. But to go to India, nobody was doing that. And Mehera was very intrigued when I came there. She wanted to know why I had come. Somebody came into my room and they said, "Would you like to meet Mehera?" I was only 6 months knowing about Baba, but I did read about her, and I was thinking, is this the Mehera that doesn't see men? You see? because the last I checked, I was a man, you see. Anyhow, but she did, you know, and of course, she would never do anything unless Baba had said so. So Baba was now, I think, beginning to loosen the reins so that she could begin to come out into meeting everybody. But gradually. Anyhow, she came into the room that I was in. I was asked to sit in a certain room, and I was there. And then she was very interested to know how I had come, why I had come, because this was not something that anyone did, you know, not from the West anyhow. So I told her, I said, I'm here for Baba to show me his real self. Because Baba was constantly saying, and here's another thing, he was constantly saying, I am not this body, don't mix me up with the body. And he would say this from time to time like that. He said, you have to try and see me as I really am. And I was thinking, good, I want to see him as he really is. You know, what's stopping this? What's holding this up? No, I didn't say that to him, but I was very impatient about that.
What else did Mara say? Was it in the conversation this one important to it?
She was more concerned. She was more interested, and she was very sweet and very nice. But she was more interested as to why I had come, and because it was not something that people were doing, you know, especially at my age at that time. So she was very interested in that. That's what it was about. Yeah.
Dropped his body, of course, in 1969. Was it you and your brother flew over there and helped to Baba's body?
Yes.
Could you tell us a
Yes.
little bit?
Baba was, when he left his body in the West, the group heads were telling everybody not to go there. Baba had just dropped his body. He had just died, and they were saying not to go because they didn't want that there should be so much difficulty. They felt for the Mandalay, Baba's disciples, to be taking care of everybody. Well, so Fred Winterfeld was in charge of the New York group meeting, and I was in New York at the time. So so we got the news that Baba had left his body. This telegram came. Avatar Mayor Baba has left his physical body to live in the hearts of his lovers everywhere, and has been interned in his tomb, which he had ordered to be built for him long ago. That was the message. So then we knew. So I went to Fred's place, because he was a group head, to confirm this, you know, that I heard this, and now I need, you know, more of a confirmation, because he would know. And of course he did, and there was a lot of people calling from different parts of the country, also wanting to confirm that. So, but he was at the same time saying nobody should go. We should not go because it's too much work and too much difficulty at this particular time for Baba's disciples to be taking care of all these people. So he tells me this. And I said to him, I said, Fred, I'm going. And he says, how can you go? I'm telling everybody not to go, and you're saying you're going. I said, I'm going because I'm his son. And that's where the son goes, you see. He goes in there to be there. And I said to him, if you don't go, you will regret it later. Did you hear that? If you don't go, you will regret it later. And he got upset. He said, that's not what I'm telling everybody. So I said, well, you said tell them what you want, but that's what I'm doing. Now, later, when he did go, it was at a time when Baba had instructed that there would be a great meeting, that people would come to see him. But of course now he had passed away. But everybody was going just the same at that time. And then when he came at that time, then he said, you know, you were right. I really feel I should have gone. But when I was there and did go with my brother Edward, we both went, I was able to help cover Baba at that time. And when the part that I want to say is that when I came there, when I arrived, and I was at the foot of the hill, where Baba was up at the top of, where the Samadhi is at the top of Mehrabad Hill, I was at the foot of the hill, and Erich was there. And Erich came over to me and he said, "Where is everybody?" And I'm looking around and I see thousands of Easterners all coming up in lines up the hill to the Samadhi. And I said, well, they're being told that it'd be too much trouble for you, for everybody to come. And he looks around and there are all these thousands of people. And how could it be too much trouble? There was from the entire U.S., maybe from the whole West, there wouldn't be more than about 150 or 200 people coming. And here's thousands of Easterners. So it wasn't even like that at all. He just, so he said, come on, we're going straight up to the hill. And we went, so he took the both of us up there, and there was Baba lying in the crypt, and you could see his face. You could see Baba's face. He was wrapped in the cloth. Well, you've seen some photos of it, but you could see him. And then there was the covering Baba with the. See, Baba at the bottom of the crypt was the bottom of the box that would be lowered over him to cover him. So the lid of the box, he was lying on that, but then the rest of the box was inverted and it was placed over him, and then the earth was placed over that, and people could come up and put flowers or things, whatever they wanted to pay their respects that way. So that's how it worked. And I always felt that if there's anything between you and God, always do what you think will bring you closer to God. That's always the right thing, no matter what anyone says, but that's the right thing, because ultimately it benefits everybody, including those that were objecting possibly at first, you know. And a good example of that was my dad. You know, my father was so hostile to Baba to begin with, but then Baba just won his heart over. That's a whole nother story. Before he died, I'll just tell you this one. He was 94, but before he passed away, I asked him, I said, do you think that Meher Baba is God? Because he had gone through so many transitions. But he was really very hostile to start with. I mean, he would send the worst letters to Baba. But anyhow, at the end of his life, then he said to me, now I am one of you. That was his answer when I asked him about that. You see, he says, now I am one of you. To go from being so hostile and saying the worst things that he could think of to Baba about his sons, me and Edward particularly. He had two other sons too. They were not doing this, what we were doing. But saying all of these things, that the worst things, and calling Baba all kinds of names, to transition to where I am now. I am one of you. It took many years for that to happen. And in between that time, he decided that Baba was his friend. You see, he liked Baba now. Baba was always so kind to him. No matter what he said, Baba would ignore that and tell him things. And when he would tell him things, then he liked what Baba said, you see. That's the way it goes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
He's sick of my Irish jokes. He's sick of my name jokes. So I've switched ethnicity. I can't even say the word. I've switched ethnic camps, and I have another Jewish joke. Let's see, is Gail still here? No. Anyways, so I was asking at Oddity if I love it when Bob is playing jokes and telling funny stories and throwing things. And I said, did anybody see anything in the Bible where Jesus ever did anything like that? So the fellow got up and he says, well, this isn't really, he said, this is a joke. But he said, it's a funny joke, but it isn't about Jesus being funny. It's about this rabbi. So the rabbi's son said, Dad, I need to talk to you. I'm leaving our community, and I'm going to be baptized as a Baptist. His father says, oh my God, what are you thinking of, son? Think of my reputation here in the community. The rabbi's son becomes Christian. What are we going to do? So he's sitting there in his study thinking, and there's a knock on the door, and another parishioner comes in. He says, Rabbi, I got to talk to you. My son has just given me the worst news. He says, what is it? He said, he's going to leave Judaism and become a Christian. He said, oh my God. He says, it's happened to me too. So they were talking and talking. There's another knock on the door, and another guy comes in. He said, oh, do you mind if I join you? I've just had the most terrible news. He says, my son is leaving Judaism to become a Christian. So the rabbi said, okay, let's all get together, let's all pray, let's ask God for guidance. So they bow their heads, they pray. When they get through praying, there's God has joined them in the room. And they said, oh, we're just so upset. He said, listen, look, God said, let me tell you about my son.
Jamie. You got to move along, train such a heavy load. Well, move along, train such a heavy load. Hey, move along, train such a heavy load. Well, my Lord's coming and he won't be long. He's gonna safely carry me home. Well, that gospel train is coming. You know it's coming around the curve. I can hear that whistle blowing, and it's raining my last nerve. Well, you got to move along, train such a heavy load. Well, move along, train such a heavy load. Well, move along, train such a heavy load. You know my Lord's coming and it won't be long. He's gonna safely carry me home. Yeah, you better tell that barroom lady she better get her business right. You know that gospel train is coming, and it may be here tonight. Well, you got to move along, train such a heavy load. Well, move along, train such a heavy load. Hey, move along, train such a heavy load. You know my Lord's coming and it won't be long. You're gonna safely
And as always, there's only two words that all of us have to know. Mayor Baba. Mayor Baba.